Hello, MF Kraven here, and welcome to Less Than 10 Minute Reviews, a YouTube series where I take a look at niche titles, hidden gems, and often overlooked games to tell you whether or not you should buy them in less than 10 minutes. So if that's the type of content that you like, consider subscribing and liking this video. Today I take a look at Aura, History Untold, an extra special shout out to Xbox Game Studios for giving me a press copy to play. Aura, History Untold is a grand strategy 4X alternative history game where you take notable people in history like George Washington, Benito Juarez, Haile Selassie, Catherine the Great, and even Simón José Antonio de la Santísima Trinidad Bolívar Palacios Ponte y Blanco. Start from the beginning and race to become the greatest nation of history. Whether that be through science, arts, diplomacy, or conquest, it's your job to be the greatest ruler ever known. But is this Civilization-esque game a contender, or will Aura be another footnote in history? Let's find out. Graphics, sound, and art style. Starting off with the graphics, I'm running Aura on a 3070 and it looks great to me. First two acts, it plays a lot smoother than it does later on. I do like zooming into the cities to see what my people are doing. I love exploring the land we're given, and the sounds that accompany the game. Delightful. With the press copy, I was also given access to the OST. It's 118 tracks, with all 12 ages having their specific tracks. Gameplay. First, you are given choice between 42 notable people in history, each equipped with bonuses and flaws. You choose your difficulty and however many nations you want to face off against. You can edit the AI difficulty map type. I suggest generating a new map just for each playthrough to feel fresh, and the amount of turns. Keep in mind that there are 12 ages divided into 3 eras. Then starts Act 1, Turn 1. You're given a town on a random spot in the map. No, you don't get to pick where you will be. Clicking on your city, you can see your summary, how many people are in the city, how much productivity, research, food, income, wood, materials, and everything they're producing, plus their quality of life. Making farms will increase your food, log camps will increase your wood, mines or deposits will increase the materials, etc., etc. As your population grows with adequate housing and supplies, your city will generate a claim where you can take another portion of the map for your nation. They'll have icons with an apple, log, material, and coin. Depending on the amount will be how much you generate per turn. But also, placing a farm on a region that has 3 or 4 apples, you will generate more food, and the same logic applies to all other resources. There are random enemy spawns, mainly wildlife and supplies such as cows, grapes, or other goods. And if you own a region that they're in, you will be supplied with a certain amount per turn. Or building an appropriate building will generate even more supplies, i.e. a farm will add to anything that can be farmed or ranched. After a while, paragons will come to your city. You can have them give you bonus points to certain aspects of your city, or have them work on masterpieces that will give you coveted prestige points. Events will pop up from time to time, like the Forest Fork, where you are given a scenario, and depending on how you respond to it, you will receive/lose certain commodities or buffs to your city. This will start to happen more often if you come into contact with tribes scattered through the map, as well as opposing nations. Events like this can better your relationship with other nations or have an adverse effect. There are 4 ages in each era, as aforementioned. While in theory you or your foe nations can advance through the ages faster than the rest, dependent on growth/research points. Once a player on the board is on the verge of advancing to the next act, the game will give all players a warning, as the lowest ranking nation will be forgotten in time. Depending on how many nations you're up against, the game will decide whether it's 1 or 2 nations that get left behind. Ranking is determined by aforementioned prestige points. Prestige points is essentially anything and everything that you do in-game. For example, if a paragon in your city creates the Mona Lisa as a masterpiece, you gain points. If you build the Taj Mahal, you get prestige. If your workforce is a lot, if your population is high, if you win a skirmish or a war against another nation, you get points. So it's just every little bit in detail that you do. Your economics, your culture, your science, all go towards your prestige points. Aura also has a very creative religion system that gives your nation amazing buffs based on the reach of your religion. The more people come to your place of worship, the better for you. Government is also another engine in-game that can give you great buffs. Depending on what form of government you have, will affect the aspects of your ruling and the population in it. Whether you think feudalism, Marxism, imperialism, or any other modern government is a way for you, it will allow you to tax the people a certain amount, have them be harder workers, or rely on more government. The game will continue until either all nations but one are wiped from the map, or one player reaches the last stage of the final era. Then you will have 25 turns to try to be in number 1 by the end of those 25 turns with your prestige points. Price $59.99 USD. How many hours estimated? I played around 22 and a half hours of Aura, with one game taking around 16 hours. Is it playable on Steam Deck? While I had no issues playing the first act, as more of the map gets exposed, it does seem to stutter a lot after a while. I will also strongly advise you create your own key bindings for Aura if you play on the Steam Deck. Final thoughts. I pondered a lot about Aura. I'm not a seasoned Civ player like most people who will have even looked at this are, so I'm not a big help in that department, but what I am is a casual player of strategy simulation games of the sort. And there's a lot I love about Aura, but a lot that has also left me largely underwhelmed. I want to start with the good though. The historical landmarks look gorgeous, the sounds of the world and congruence with the soundtrack is a relaxing experience, quite frankly. The grind to be the first to build the historical landmarks or to discover another nation is fun. I like sending my scout out just to explore, and I love that Aura has a good variety of historical figures to choose from. I only wish that we had more presidential or solid leaders, hell, even dictators. On my first playthrough, I did Benito Juarez, someone who I admire, and unbeknownst to me, the most OP leader in the game. See, because his ability is to gain an expert on day 1, and experts, what they do is they multiply certain building effects. So placing them in my Great Hearth would have raised the productivity in there by 150%. And to build amenities such as a feast that when used in my city will improve my food supply plus growth to level my city faster. And here's where the issues lie. See, Act 2 and Act 3 quickly turn into a battle of production. Who can produce the most of a certain supply? Having to build workshops to create certain items will either drive you mad or make you completely, totally engaged. Luckily, I learned very quickly that there is a screen that I can go to where I can see everything that can be crafted as an item and what is crafting what. Through research, you can discover new buildings and amenities you can make. But you need some of this and some of that, and you can improve anything that can be improved as long as it's research. But you may need certain tools, so you must craft that after that. But what if a nation decides to attack you? Well, thankfully in Aura, when you end your turn, everyone does as well. So it's not done in an order, but all plays at the same time. So you will have time to know what kind of war it is and how long it will last. A skirmish will last you 25 turns, and in my experience was the most common war that I had. You must have troops made, and if you don't, well, hopefully you have some money to rush them. Then you must muster them, which means it takes another turn. But if your enemy is already in your town, you won't be able to muster those troops in that specific town. So pick another one of your towns to bring them out from. If you muster them from another town and you reach the city center being sieged in time, which most of the time you won't, then you can fight in a very unintuitive way with some health bars. And even when you watch the battles, it looks completely uninspired. So your town has been sieged. Well, your enemy can either raze it to the ground or take it over. With the takeover or destruction of your town, so go your prestige points. What I'm getting at is if you're unprepared, prepare to lose the game. It's how I lost my game with Benito and why I had to start over with Untold, because it made me go to trial by fire. Through my second campaign, I learned everything that I needed to learn about how to play it, except maybe how Zeppelins work. Aura is a very niche game of production and taking your time. When the first act was ending, I was almost to be forgotten in history, but then I used the technique AI used on me in the previous game, and that is to declare a war on the person just above you in the rankings. First, I built my military, mustered them, even though I was sweet on
Nefertiti for the entirety of the game. I put half of my military at her doorstep and a few on my capital just to make sure that the defense. Despite our almost allied relationship, I declared a skirmish and took her walls down. I assimilated her people and made her town a part of my nation. Well, right before Act 2 happened, she did the same thing to a nation below me, and she just got into Act 2. Spoiler alert, in Act 3 I used the exact same technique to overtake the number 1 spot in the last 60 or so turns. Copernicus has stood no chance against my synth soldiers, but by then I was just kinda hoping the game would already end. I kept wanting it to just get it over with. I felt overwhelmed by the amount of micromanagement that I had to do. My townsfolk weren't happy because they don't have enough food, but half the city are farms that I improved with many tools. Well, it's the happiness. There's too many people and they're not happy, so I crafted amenities that would make them happy, but also needed parks, so I built them a park. Despite not me having much room, all resources were shared too, so unless I went into a town, I wouldn't know who needed what, and that was mildly annoying. Upkeep of certain buildings or trading off coal I didn't have just to make more fuel and ammunition that I needed for my troops. I could not recall to my base, essentially just taking up resources when not in battle, and if I disbanded them, they would be gone forever, so I'd have to remake the troop. It was frustrating. It's frustrating that in a game like this, you can't just send them back to the barracks. Either they have to be destroyed or disbanded, otherwise they're gonna just keep eating at your resources. And yeah, well, a little annoyance here and a little annoyance there, but I was having fun, but then sometimes I'd go back and be like, oh, it's a micromanagement simulator, not really a grand strategy. And while it took me a bit to do this review, as I almost gave this one a do not buy on the release build, some patches have made the experience get a lot better, but the combat needs to be revamped exponentially, even though I exploited it to secure a victory. I'd like something along the lines of having battles in specific towns. Chasing the AI around while they pillage my town is annoying. Whereas when I'm pillaging their town, sometimes my troops can pillage, sometimes my troops can't even break the walls, so I take a ranged troop to bombard the town, and of course they muster troops in that specific town, so then a battle ensues. Rules for thee, not me, right? I like to be able to click on an item and I need, instead of taking me to the encyclopedia, if available to make, I want it to take me to somewhere where I can produce the said items, like heavy tools, take me to a factory, or glass, take me to wherever the glass is made. The UI does make it easy to improve my buildings though, that I need, and I commend them for that. But there's just so much by the beginning of the third act that everything's just so hard to keep up with, especially if you're taking over cities to get your prestige points up and you don't know exactly what was placed by the AI in certain places. You know, sometimes it's like just a bunch of farms was what I pillaged from Copernicus. But Oxide Games give me much hope that Aura History Untold will be a game that I will want to play in the future. We live in a time where Cyberpunk and No Man's Sky can get their act together. We just need Aura to be in the oven for a little while longer. Maybe it was released a little bit too soon, which is why I'm giving this a wait for sale. I feel like it's fair to say that this is a niche title, and some may be playing it just to hold them over until Civ 7 comes out. Others genuinely will love history and micromanagement. I'm looking at all my German pals, and they're gonna love it. There's fun to be had here, but for the full entry price of $60 USD, it feels too much like an early access title. One that has the bones to become a standout in the genre, however. So I say, wait for sale.